Hello everybody, welcome to episode 4 of the midweek molt. Here is your host Robbie from Robbiestalkingts.
Hello everyone, welcome to episode 4 of the midweek molt. As you can see, we're taking a new approach to the podcast. I just want to say a huge thank you to everyone that's watched so far and liked the old format, but I decided to get a little bit more personal with you when answering your questions and also covering topics on the podcast. So I thought I'd change it up a bit. I'd get rid of the clips and I'd just have me and you talking on camera, and you know, it's a bit more personal, so I thought that would be a lot better. Now this week I haven't had any questions from anyone that watches or listens to the podcast, so we're going to get into this week's topic straight off the bat: tarantula pricing and why it's important to get more captive bred slings into the hobby. Now, I was having a conversation the other day with one of my subscribers. We was talking back and forth on Instagram, and they was like, man, this past year, I can't believe how much prices have jumped up. At the spider shop, so many legs, all the vendors you can think of, the prices have just hiked up and up and up and up. And that got me thinking that, yeah, they have jumped up a lot, and there's two reasons for that. And one of those reasons is Brexit. Now, for all you people in the US that may not know what Brexit is, Britain voted to leave the European Union, and as a result of that, the cost of importing and exporting went up. Now, as most of our sellers in this country import their slings from over in Europe, that meant that they had to cover the costs of importing them in and selling them on to us. So that naturally made the prices go up. Now, the amount that the prices have gone up, I've said for a long time, especially in live streams, that I don't really agree with how much they've gone up, and I have reasons for this. I personally have started getting into breeding, and my whole goal, I've said from the start, is I want to produce slings and sell them to people in the hobby, whether they're just getting started in it or they've been in it for a long time, but they just can't afford these extortionate prices because of Brexit. Now, the way I look at it is, I'm not looking to make any profit whatsoever from the captive bred slings. So I worked out that if I got a breeding pair, say Poecilotheria metallica for example, for £150, and I bred them and had an egg sac, if I divided the amount of eggs that I got by the amount that I paid, that will give me the price that I paid to break even. That's a fair assumption, right? Now, I worked out that if I did that, my slings would roughly cost between £12 and £16, give or take. Like, there's room for error and for leeway, but that's the most I'd ever charge for them. That's just to break even. Now, all the sellers out there are selling their slings at £25, £30, maybe a bit more. So for me, add the import costs on top. Does it add up to £25? I don't think it does. Therefore, that got me thinking, is there also a little element of the hobby is growing? More and more people are getting involved in the hobby. They're getting into it. They're picking up tarantulas. is there a little bit of greed at play? And only thing that made me think that there's possibly a little bit of that, because you got to think there's a little profit margin in slings that you would add on, but it still doesn't work out. Here's the example I'll give you. I recently purchased a Grammostola porteri female. I paid £110, £120 for it, I believe. Now, I know what you're thinking in today's climate. You go online, you see tarantula adults. They're about 130, 160, sometimes more. So £110 you would think is right. Now, this is where I have a problem with paying £120 for this tarantula. I know that exports from Chile have been banned, and I know that not a lot of people are breeding these, and there has been a lot of time put into care. But if you rewind time 6-7 years, you could have picked up this exact same tarantula, an adult female Grammostola rosea, for around £20. These things were so prevalent in the hobby that breeders were breeding them, and they was giving them away as freebies because they just couldn't sell them. There were so many that they didn't know what to do with them. Now they're really rare and you can hardly get hold of them. You see where I'm going with? That's why we need more breeders in the hobby, especially in the UK. If you guys think, like me, the prices of slings and juveniles, adults, has risen sky high, that when you go on, you're excited, you're online, you're typing away, you go on to the spider shop and you think, man, I really want that tarantula, but I can't justify that price. That's why we need more breeders in the hobby. Firstly, more breeders means more availability, which means we have more slings available. Breeder or sellers even can pick them up for cheaper than importing them from Europe. If more people breed, there'll be more availability. There won't be this thing where you go on the spider shop or So Many Legs and you go to place your order and they're all sold out. They only had 10, 20 slings and they went like that because they're in such high demand. They'll be readily available. The prices will come down and then you won't be paying a week's wages, or day's wages should I say, for one spider. That's the point I'm trying to make. That's why I had the idea of doing my breeding projects and, you know, getting them out there for an absolute fraction of the price. Because let's face it, unlike the normal sellers out there, I am not looking to make a profitable business. I'm looking to make a business that just sustains itself and helps the hobby along and develop and provide happiness to hobbyists all over the country. Because that's all we want at the end of the day. We want to be able to go online, we want to find a seller, we want to purchase something we've been looking for or really wanted for a long time, and we want it at a decent price. So that's my thoughts after thinking that what is the deal here? What really is going on? Like, is it greed? Is it import and export costs? Is it lack of availability? Is it that rare factor? Is it high demand, low demand? I think it's a combination of all these factors, which is why the hobby in the last year or so, the prices have rocketed up. Also, the bad thing about these prices being set so high is You're gonna have to excuse me, I've got a bit of a cold, so if I sniff, I apologise. The problem is, with these prices being set so high, is that also adds a lot of, what's the word I'm looking for? Attraction. It's a very attractive prospect for some breeders out there to go out into the wild and illegally smuggle them. Because if you think about it, if they have to pay a lot of money to import them, they're going to think to themselves, well, I won't pay that money to import them. I'll just go out to the wild, I'll get as many as I need, and people are going to pay huge amounts of money for them, and I'm laughing. I'm just making nothing but profit off of these animals. It's no big deal. So then that also leads to what we really don't want in the hobby, is type locations where certain spiders are found are wiped out due to skyrocketing prices and people's need to have species that are already in the hobby and no one's breeding. What's up with that? Like, we're not helping the hobby by doing all these little micro movements in it, because it's just opening us up to more people scamming, like I said, going out and taking animals out of the wild, even more animals out of the wild, decimating where they're found, the locations. The main one I'm thinking of right now is Birapes simiamoxygorum. Now, I've spoke to several people that have told me in the area that simiamoxygorum is found, they don't see any spiders anymore. That location has practically been cleared out since it was discovered. All for what? The tarantula hobby. Now, that's personally why I won't go and buy one. I won't buy one for a very long time, even though they're captive bred, because my moral compass says no matter how much I would love to have one in the collection, I can't justify the fact that that happened for the tarantula to appear in the hobby. I think that's absolutely terrible. And you hear the rumours that go around on who's responsible and who did it, but we're not going to get into that, because we're not going to, call people out and throw accusations, and because even though I've spoke to people that know who did it, who's responsible, blah 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 blah, they could also be telling little porkies, and it's just hearsay. Until I've been out in the wild and seen no tarantulas where they come from, then it's sort of speculation. But the potential for that to happen for all the species in the hobby, that is the scary part for me. Why are people going to import them from Europe when, like, even just Brachypelma, they'd go out to, Mexico and just smuggle thousands back out of the wild, rather than go with import them legally and pay the costs? Or, Poecilotheria, there's more enticement for sellers to skip the middleman of paying revenue and customs their prices, like import prices, and hike the prices up to what we've been paying because of the import and export prices, and set that as the standard. You see what I'm saying? That is why we need more breeders in the hobby, so that they're like, why would someone go out and poach them out of the wild if we've got thousands already being bred for a lot cheaper? I'm sure you guys, you would love a cheaper hobby. You would love to be able to pick up, I don't know, let's think of something expensive, a Xanathus species, for example, for a fraction of the price that they are now. So that's why we need more breeders in the UK, and we need to sit down with the people that have worked out effective breeding methods for a lot of species and get regular egg sacs and get that knowledge out there. Because I can understand some of them would want to keep it to themselves. It's their livelihood. Like, I can understand that. That's how they make the money. That's how they pay the bills. That's how they... But they're still going to be able to do that. Right? They'll be able to sell more because they have more of a turnover. There's more demand because, let's face it, a lot of people don't buy tarantulas because of the prices. A lot more people, in my opinion, stop before buying. There's a lot of impulse buying, but a lot of people say, yeah, I can't really afford that £70 for a sling. I can't really justify £80 for a sling. I've got kids to feed. I've got, you know. So for every one person that does spend that, there's 10 people all there that have refused. Now, if the prices came down due to UK breeding, they'd sell more slings. Those 10 people wouldn't think twice about it because they're at a decent cost. That's just my look on it. That's just my view on it. If you guys have a different view, then feel free to write in the comments your perspective. Do you think that we should continue the way we're doing and importing the way we are, and, you know, prices going up and up and up and up? Or do you think that more efforts do need to be made for UK breeders to step up and say, no, we've had enough of that. We're self-sufficient. And do you think that we should keep our hobby going ourselves? That's up to you. I think, personally, more UK breeders. Definitely better. So if you've got any questions on that, again, feel free to write it in the comments. That's all I'm speaking about today. That's my views on it. That's my views on it. You can shoot me, you can hate me. Like, if you're a breeder, if you're a seller, and you want to have your input on it, and you want to tell me what's going on that I may not know, again, write in the comments, get in contact with me. I'd love to have a chat, because right now, after that conversation I had with the subscriber, my head's tied in knots with it. I've noticed that there's a lot of things that don't make sense with it. There's a lot of, you know, price rise, what it is now. I can't get it. I can't get my head around it. So hopefully one of you steps up and puts the record straight. I'm more than happy. I would love to have like a video call with you, and maybe in the next podcast we'll show that. We'll show a back and forth conversation to see what really is going on. And yeah, I'm happy to do that. But anyway, that's all I've got to say in this podcast. I'm gonna wrap it up there because I have been talking now for nearly 20 minutes, and that's a lot for you guys to digest and think about. And yeah, so I'm going to leave it there. I appreciate you all coming into episode 4. I hope to see your comments down below. If you enjoyed it, make sure to like the video because it really does help out with the algorithm, and make sure to subscribe and all that good stuff. I hope to see you in the next one. I'll see you later. Take care.